Camera rolling and action. What is happening, beautiful people? Igama lam ngu-Usiphile and welcome to the 9th episode of Usiphile on the platform. So today's topic is quite straightforward, but at the same time, there's a lot of layers to it. And so today I want to discuss some of those layers, maybe not all, but like just some of them, and just to share my insight to my thoughts around that particular topic. And the topic for today is don't lose yourself for the crowd or in the crowd. So it's don't lose yourself for the crowd or in the crowd. And this topic was inspired by a trip that I recently took to the Eastern Cape. So been Kotukile, I think about a week or two ago. And for people that have gone to the Eastern Cape, you know when you also dolopin and then you go back home, you know, there's a certain level of grounding that you get, you know. And this was heavily inspired by that trip, whereby I realized there was a lot of parts of myself that I had or was slowly losing just from going there and experiencing la life of Payana. So it also allowed me to interact with a lot of people that ngazange nadibana nabo before, and that was a beautiful experience, I won't lie. So for those who haven't watched, for the new subscribers or the new viewers who didn't watch the first episode, I am originally from the Eastern Cape. I was born and raised in the Eastern Cape. I moved to Cape Town, Diofunda, and then now I'm currently based in Joburg. So I've been here for a couple of years, and while I'm here, there's a couple of stuff that maybe I wasn't really paying attention to or weren't that big of a deal, that now I notice, hey, I actually lost some of these things, and these are things that I hold dearly and things that are quite important and make up a lot of who I am and who I am. So, you know, we speak about the concept of like core values and beliefs, but I think that deserves an episode on its own. And I think I'm going to actually touch on it. Not touch on it, I'm going to cover it in its own individual episode, because I think it's quite important and underrated. It's an underrated concept that we talk about, but we don't really get into it and discuss the importance of having very strong core values and beliefs. So while I was there, like I said, one of the things that I realized that I've lost ever since I've come to Joburg was into Ekbulisa. You know, when you're in the Eastern Cape, everyone greets. And I remember I've had this conversation a couple of times with different people about the culture shocks that I've experienced ever since Nafika Joburg. And one of them is Ukbulisa. You know, I come from Eastern Cape by Wongumdi Akbulisa at Dolopin. If you lock eyes with someone, chances are you're going to greet that person. If you line in your nomdu, the first thing you do is you greet hello mama, or hello tata, or hi, whoever it is. More especially like if it's an elderly person, you know. But as I was in the Eastern Cape, obviously I had been here for quite a while. Can't figure out sometimes being a dude will go away and go. And so I'd find myself in the bonumdu and then this lula. You know, you know, and it happened quite a few times, and I was like, oh shoot, actually descending, you know. And I was reminded of how important that thing is, because Ndokbulisa might sound very small and non-significant, you know, but when you greet someone, I think you recognize their presence, right? And if you can recognize someone's presence, you can then follow up and respect them. I mean, you can respect someone without greeting them, yes, but just being able to recognize someone is quite an important thing. And if you just walk past Umdu, you know, sometimes I'm born noba ukona, you know, and we have this saying is close and by hey, when someone is disrespecting you, utumdu you know. So I think greeting is a form of acknowledging their presence in that particular setting, and then you can continue with your life after that. It's not that deep. But ever since I got to Joburg, Ndokbulis has been very weird. You know, you greet someone, to lock eyes with someone, you greet them and they walk straight past you. And it's something I think over the years, you know, I think I've had to like assimilate. Now I don't want to be that weird person, so then I'll just stay in my lane and do what I need to do, you know. And so it's a very small thing, like I said, but I think it informed a bigger problem, which is we get into different environments and different spaces that kind of make you feel like you don't have a choice but to compromise yourself. And self is also quite a deep concept. We can go into depth and we can discuss it. And I think I am as a Lamba, because these are very important things and things I think about on a regular basis. Like sometimes you think to yourself, hey, I'm so weird to be dissecting into but whatever it is that makes up self, don't compromise whatever that is. Your environments that make you feel like you have to compromise self, and whatever makes up that self, it can be your core values or your core beliefs, etc., 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 as different components to a person's self and identity. And in those environments, very rarely or very often, I've tried everything that I possibly can to maintain or to stay true to who I am, but I'm being tested or being pushed to compromise on izinto, okanye holding on to these core values or core beliefs or these things that I hold dearly about myself are not worth it or not paying out, because they kind of hindering my progress in whatever environment that is. It could be at work, it could be in a relationship, it could be in your hobbies, etc., etc., but this is like a reminder, or like this is one of those things where, or at least in my experience, I'm not a life expert, and I've also had many a times where I feel like not choice about to, say this, crack this joke, because it's in this environment. But it's a joke now, but the joke is not a joke that I'm going to kill and I'm alone in the room I'll be proud of. The laughs are going to be nice in the moment. You're going to appear as the funny person in that environment. But is it something that you really is it something that you really believe in? And is it something that when you're alone staring at the mirror, okay, maybe not staring at the mirror, because I think that's also overly used. When you go to bed at night, is it a moment that you're going to think about and say, yo, that was a good one. I also don't know how I thought about that joke. Or do you go back to sleep and think to yourself, damn, yes, I got the laugh, but at what cost? And I don't want to take that route of at what cost, because I think that is also such a complex thing, where we talk about the risk and the benefits, where, does the risk outweigh the benefits? And if it does, then you take the risk, etc., etc., etc. But I think it's just about at what cost. There's a line by J. Cole where he says, the good news is you went a long way, but the bad news is you went the wrong way. And the danger with going the wrong way or to compromising yourself to try and get ahead or to take a step further is that decision you had to take, or that thing that forced you to compromise who you are in order for you to take one step forward, or like to progress or get ahead in whatever department that is, will constantly require you, or that side of you, that you have compromised. Umzekelo, in the social media age, we've seen it a lot, where you post stuff, like you post the things that interest you and they're not getting any traction. Actually, let me go to social media. Let me talk about music. So I have made music in the past, right? And sometimes you make songs and the songs just don't catch. They don't catch, right? Because it's not what's trendy. It's not what people want to hear. And you just keep making the songs and they just don't catch, up until a point where you decide, I'm going to compromise this sound or the content that I'm usually writing about, and I'm going to make something that is a lot catchier, right? and you've seen it with some artists where Bayumdu drops a banger, and the fans they end up getting with dropping that banger are fans that want to hear that kind of music, majority. Because abanye abantu sometimes don't really care about the artistry, and the effort that went into it, the bars and the metaphors. They care about the sound, and like umzekelo, like with the trap music, where you like, it's about trap, it's bumpy, it's in the club, everybody's popping bottles. That's exactly what that's what I like, that's what I'm about. And you release that song and it catches on, people demand that of you. And now when you want to come through now with this conscious music that you want to make, we're like, boring, that's not who we signed up for. And so that's the danger of, sometimes it doesn't work like that, like I said, it's very context dependent. And you just don't want to find yourself in a position whereby you've compromised who you are, you're creating this version of yourself that you think is acceptable, and you end up losing ubuwena. Because you might go far, you might go very, very, very far. But in the end, when you get to the more you progress in life, you get to the next step and the next level, it will just require you to make a bigger compromise. And then the next level will also just demand you to make a bigger compromise, and it never stops. And so if you are asked, but this is not a pathway that I'm very comfortable with, I think it's worth sitting down and thinking to yourself, does this align with me, right? When the doors are shut and there's nobody else in the room, is it something that I'm going to be proud of? Does it align with who I am? Does it align with my core beliefs? Does it align with my values? Is it going to make me happy ultimately? Or is it just going to make me money? Or is it just going to progress me and allow me to go forward? So yeah, like I said, it took me, the trip was a reminder, but it's something I try to be very conscious of, kakhulu, in my daily decisions, and maybe not as frequent as daily, but like sometimes isn't very easy. Like, oh, dude, you just laugh at a joke, or you just crack the joke, and and I'll catch myself up like, yo, dog, but why were you laughing at that joke? Because it's not a joke that you strongly align with, and if you laugh at it once, the people around you are gonna crack it again, and you're gonna have to keep laughing at that joke. And it just becomes more difficult now. If you keep laughing at the joke, it becomes a lot difficult to address the fact that actually I don't like that joke. Because now you've created a circle around you, or like friends around you, that think about when the jokes is out because and so yeah, that's the idea. I think I think in the next episode, because like I don't really like having very long episodes, but I'm also going to talk about now, because now obviously you've in life, like let's say you like I said, you haven't lost yourself in the crowd, right? You don't lose yourself in the crowd or for the crowd. And so the crowd that you end up building, and that's generally a very difficult process now, because when you have to, and I also use music, when people talk about building a solid fan base, a foundation for a fan base, it's very slow, because you're making music that only you understand. You're making music that only a couple of people appreciate. Okanye, the people that you've seen, like, there's still a very small number of people that appreciate that music. But those people will become very solid. Like, they will become a very solid fan base. And whenever you fall down, let's say you make this music, you get like 5 people, right? And then you keep making the same music, and 5 people keep listening. You get 1 person, and now it's 6 people. Get another person, it's 7 people. It will take longer to build that foundation, but it's gonna be a much solid foundation, because of which is funny, of when you're building anything, if it's too quick, either one, you've used material that is not gonna last longer, or can you two, sometimes you can build something very quickly, but you need a very heavy machinery, and a lot of us don't have that heavy machinery to build things quickly. And so I think it's a lot more valuable when you appreciate the process and fall in love with the process of building, fall in love with the process of finding a crowd that relates to who you are and that you relate to, a crowd that in the conversation you feel full, you feel fuller, You feel like you've gained something. You feel like you've given something that is of value to you. After the conversation, it being where you were discussing stuff that makes you happy. When you go to sleep at night, you think to yourself, I am so happy I got to meet that person and I got to speak about that particular thing that makes me similar to them or make me the same with them, and I've also seen it quite a lot up at Joburg, where people don't try to share parts of themselves that are real because I think maybe it's fear about there's gonna be rejection. But okay, maybe I'm too weird for me to show, my true self, and so I kind of have to show this version of myself that I think is acceptable in the crowd. But chances of a Banduklo crowd, more than one person in that crowd experiencing the same thing are very high. And so if you show who you really are, and I mean, obviously, you don't not just gonna throw yourself, there's social cues and like social things you have to consider. But if you stay true to who you are, chances are you're gonna find someone who's also just like you and someone you can build a stronger foundation with. And that is quite important in terms of like building stronger and deeper connections in Abandu, which is also takes you further. I've spoken about this thing up about people talk about like if you wanna go far, you have to what does it say? If you wanna go far, go with people. If you wanna go fast, go alone. Something like that. And I was like, I don't think that's very true because for me, Mzekelo, with this lapel mic, this made it easier for me to record episodes as opposed to the big setup, the clutter setup that I had. And I found that I was able to produce a lot quicker. And the person who made it possible for me to be able to have access to Lando was a friend of mine who saw my vision and said, yo man, I strongly believe with what you're trying to do. Here, lapel mics, I'm not using them. The Sebens say in the meantime. And so that's what I mean when I say like if you cultivate an environment whereby you can build deeper connections in a band, you can share their visions with them without worrying about if someone is jealous, or they're going to try to take my shine. You just share who you are with that person, and that person supports you wholeheartedly, and they always ground you, But like I said, I think that's going to be the next episode because I'm pretty sure by now I'm over 20 minutes. So I wanna end off the episode there. If more ideas come to me, because there was a lot that I wanted to say, but I think this should suffice, especially because I've been gone for quite a while. I didn't I didn't ignore that or like pretend it didn't happen. I know I disappeared for a couple of weeks without giving any feedback or any life update. There was a lot happening. There was a lot of moving plates, and I just needed to get a grip on Izindo and do a bit of planning and go back to the drawing board and see what direction I want the platform to take. And I mean, it's still quite fairly new and fresh. So I was like, I need to go back to the drawing board and let me do this. And I mean, I don't really have a team at the moment, so a lot of stuff falls on me. So, partly why I disappeared, and we are in a different environment. I've also noted that we're in a different environment, and this is where we're going to be shooting where I'm going to be shooting the individual sessions. And I think when I start to introduce the guests, I'll go back to the couch. So yeah, man, thank you for tuning in once again. I'm excited for what's going to come for the platform. I'm excited for what's going to come for me, for growth. I'm excited to see what's going to happen for you and the growth that you're going to experience going forward and for the second half of the year. All the best with everything that you're trying to do. Like I said, don't give up. You are going to go through obstacles and you are going to, get hurdles along the way. But those should not demotivate you to stop. So, English. Those should not demotivate you to keep going, right? You should just see them for what they are, obstacles, and always think about the grand scheme or the greater picture. For Ngoku, it might feel like, no, it's definitely the end. It's over. There's no way that I'm gonna continue. You don't see a way out of whatever you're going through right now. But I want to remind you, keep pushing, keep going, and for as long as whatever direction you're pushing in is in line with who you are and what you believe in, I think one day, some way, somehow, it is going to pay off. It has to pay off. It might take you years, might take you months, might take you weeks, but just keep pushing. And you'll know deep down. If you can look inward, you'll know deep down that, hey, right now I'm pushing in the wrong direction. And when that feeling comes to you, when that consciousness comes to you, hey, this one is not in line with who I want to be, I think you'll know it, you'll feel it, you'll think it, and there's a different feeling to, oh, should I keep going because nothing is working out, and versus should I keep going because I don't know if I'm making the right decision or I'm doing the right thing. As long as it's in line with who you are, and the decisions you're making are in line with who you are and who you envision yourself to be in the future, I think keep going, keep moving, keep pushing, and I'll see you again in episode 10.